All right. We're going to test something today, guys. We're going to test something, you guys. It's been a really long day. And I got a lot of good work done. I needed to take that time to get some kind of important stuff done. But I was able to get something set up for the stream. I got my phone back. That's going to be its own. That's going to be a fun thing for me to document, because I am going to document it. But without further ado, welcome to the stream, everyone. I'm your host, Isaac MCCanary, and it's Wednesday at 6:30, and I got chicken for dinner. Honestly, that chicken came out really good. Like, really, 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 really good. But I got everything I think that I needed. Well, that's not 100% true. After the stream, there's a couple more things I need to do before I can go to bed, because I have a very important day on Friday, to which there is probably not going to be a stream Friday, just so everyone knows. But given the current condition I'm in, I'm definitely going to have a stream tomorrow during the day. So don't you worry about that. Friday will be its own beast. But if we're lucky, it might not. It might be fine. It might be just okay. The reason why I say that is Friday's going to be interesting, because I am going to have some important stuff that I need to deal with. I'm going to have some important stuff that I'm going to have to deal with, which will be fun. That'll be fun. I have no idea how it's going to go. And frankly, I'm trying not to think about it too much. Because in reality, I got through what I got through, and that is what matters right now. And right now, all that matters to me is there's a dinosaur I need to color. Nothing is bringing much more joy right now than coloring this goddamn dinosaur. Because holy moly, I need to. I need to for mental health reasons. Nah, I'm not that bad off. It's been a very interesting day, to say the least. And what's nice is coming back to this with with kind of a fresh eye on it is very nice, actually. God knows I feel like I left off on this piece at least like a little bit like definitely worn out for the day. And kind of my plan is if I can get this done today, I will. But what I'll also equally do is try to only do. We're probably gonna switch over at about 8:30. So that way I can something else. Namely just play Valheim. I mean, I'm also excited to play more Valheim. Now you guys get to join me for rendering, and more rendering. That's exactly what I'm doing. A lot of rendering. I'm also going to start doing this a little bit more. I also realized I made a little bit of a mistake with this piece where I had been I like gave him a beak, and then I was like, wait a second, sauropods don't have beaks. Not really. Not this guy. He doesn't have a beak. They don't have beaks. Sauropods don't normally have beaks. I don't know why I gave this sauropod a beak. Sauropods are not known for having beaks, and I gave them one on accident. Not mean to. Now, alleged. Oh, there it is. It's like, allegedly I have a line here, and I don't know how. Figured it out. I figured it out. There we go. At least as far as I know, I can't think of a. When I really sit down to think about it, I can't think of a sauropod that has a beak. I can't think of one, anyways. I don't know of one. Not off the top of my head. I don't know of any sauropods with beaks. Anybody knows a sauropod with a beak? I don't know it. Yeah, not even. Yeah, Brachiosaurus, I don't believe has a beak. They don't have beaks. Their teeth just kind of jut out. That took me a second to think about. I was like, they don't have one, do they? They really don't. Not when you think about it. That's when you sit down and think about it. They do not. There we go. I do like this boy. He's come out actually really, really nicely, honestly. I think that I've done a pretty good job really trying to capture Mr. Saltosaurus. He looks good. And I have to say, like, starting this a little bit later actually feels kind of nice. I definitely. Well, I don't think that has any impact on it. I just feel very refreshed for this piece. That looks better. That definitely looks better. Do that. Go down to 16%. color in them toes. I've also, honestly, this experience has taught me to recondition how I kind of like do all of my setup. And that might not even be a bad thing in and of itself. Because now I'm going to handle certain things differently from now on. Just, just gonna do it differently from now on. Be a good thing. I think it'll be a good thing. It's hopefully a good thing. I hope it's a good thing. Purple. I don't know if I wanted that. Trying to figure out how to do that mouth. And I will say, for the most part, I've got a good strategy with how I'm handling this, I feel like. There. Some blue there. I like rendering, but I also hate rendering. I think a lot of artists despise it. I don't hate it per se, but I definitely understand the distaste. It's very time consuming. Depending on how into it you want to get, rendering can be very, very laborious. Definitely takes a lot of time to do. Or it can, depending on what you're doing. I'll also be making some changes to how I handle, so like I do, like mainly my posts to Instagram are going to change. The Instagram posts and the quality of the thumbnails should go up at least a little bit, I think. And then I also made a change that, unfortunately, VOD listener, this probably has no music for you, and that's because I'm tired. Tired of fighting with Papa YouTube and Twitch. They're both Papa. So, sorry, buddies. If you want to hear music, you gotta join for the live show. And this is a bit of a test for that today. Hopefully, if everything goes as planned and the way that I have it set up, this should have sound of my voice and nothing else. You should not hear music. But anybody who's watching hears music. So if you want to hear music, which will actually that will allow me to actually, because I've had people come in and ask about song requests, and now I can actually more seriously consider it. I still think I'm hesitant, mainly because I do not put music on. I put music on to fill in the air when it's there. Though I don't really give that much air to begin with. But I don't want music that is distracting, and I do not want music that is going to just like grief the stream. So if I do it, you guys have to be on your best behavior. That's all I'm saying. If I do it. Don't make daddy take away your toys. Do it. And I'll enjoy doing it. Because really that is a concern of mine, is still that I want to be able to engage and involve people. And being able to set the music to this will be very, very helpful in that it'll allow live people to be able to engage directly. But it does mean that there will just be VODs where I might say something about the music that's playing because somebody recommended music, and then what the VOD gets is nothing. Which is fair. I think that's totally fair. It allows me to have my cake, do whatever the fuck I want with it. I can do whatever I want with this cake. It's my cake now. You can't stop me. Don't touch my cake. Don't do it. Don't touch my cake and I will do whatever I want with it. That's my new motto. Perfect. Kind of like how this is turning out and knowing my kind of process, it is very silly to me how a lot of it is just me kind of nebulously bouncing back and forth between the portions that I want to work on. But sometimes that's how it goes. Work on one part a little. This way, maybe ultimately, digital art kind of works a little bit better for me. It gives me the flexibility to be able to do a different part if I'm just not feeling doing the coloring, doing the line art at the moment. Or if I need to focus on something else to give me better context to be able to revisit that part that I was working on. Goes both ways. Kind of goes all ways with me. Now that I'm putting these in, I could probably better clean up a lot of those scutes. Later, I'll probably go back and clean those up. Never quite just do one area at a time. Not how I do any of my work. Never have. I don't know why. I'm always kind of bouncing back and forth between what parts I'm working on. Scute. Scute. I also am curious to see how the evening will go with this. Normally I've been doing Valheim at about this time, and instead I'm doing art. I don't know how that's gonna go. Like I said, I'm not gonna do the whole night. This isn't gonna be the whole night. We'll go ahead and switch it probably closer to... I'm shooting for about 8:30. I don't know if this will be done by that time, but I'm gonna get as far as I can with it without rushing anything. what a wild last 2 weeks it's been. I feel like the last 2 weeks have been, in a lot of ways, a freaking nightmare, I won't lie. But also have been a lot of different things. There've been a lot of different things. I've made it through a lot in these last 2 weeks, I won't lie. But hey, I made it, and that's really what. Made it through a pretty harrowing last couple weeks, and I made it out way better than I would have expected at the moment, because God knows I was preparing for the worst in a lot of ways, and the worst ended up actually not only not happening, but actually a lot better things happened, which was nice. Which is maybe the thing people need to be saying when they say that saying of hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Hey, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, because the best can still happen. I feel like a lot of people, you say that saying expecting the worst to happen, not to say the worst can't happen. Maybe it is just like get your expectations on expecting something awful or something to not work, but expecting the worst doesn't mean that you planning for the worst doesn't mean you expect the worst. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. And sometimes, maybe, just maybe, the best actually does end up happening. Or at least the best thing that could happen. You didn't plan for could happen. God knows I did not plan for how this was going to go. Not one fucking bit, man. Not one little bit did I expect that to work out the way that it did. And I am going to take it. I'm going to take it and sprint at the toppest of speeds. Holy moly, I was not expecting how today turned out, even a little bit. And I planned for how today was going to. I still wasn't prepared. Ironically, I wasn't prepared for the best. I was prepared for the worst. No one tells you to prepare for the best because you assume that the best isn't going to happen. Or at least, maybe that's the problem. You should. Start at least planning for the best, everybody. Because the worst that happens is the best doesn't happen. The best thing that can happen might just be worth having happen. That makes sense. Salty Saurus. Me, Salty Saurus. That's actually coming out really nice, honestly. Salty Saurus is coming out very nicely. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I'm gonna try to add some teeth. That's a tough spot. That's a tough spot to figure out what to do with that. Sure. I'll come back to it. I'll come back to that. But yeah, that's coming out really nicely, honestly. I like how that's coming out. I really like the colors too. They're very nice. Blues. I like the blues. I mean, I do like the blues. What's funny is I do like the blues. That has nothing to do with what I was doing right there. Oh, I was wondering. I was like, that's not right. That's not supposed to work that way. That would explain it. What's funny is I was like, man, right before I went live, I was trying to look for that reference I was using last time and I couldn't find it. And now I'm like looking at this and I'm like, maybe it's better that I didn't find that reference again because now I can just kind of work with what I got here and make these parts look as good as possible because in my experience, following the reference only works for so far. And there's a certain point where you have to stop relying on the reference and start relying on your own interpretation of where the spacing of certain things go to get them correct. Now, granted, maybe that's bad science illustration, but it is a risk I'm willing to take, especially with regards to paleo art, because at least then it's interpretive. That's the thing is like when done responsibly, things like science can be interpretive. You just have to be responsible about it, honest about it too. Sometimes people take interpretive science as, you know, actual logistical fact, and that's not the case. You need to be taking it as either interpretive or hypothetical, in which you're doing your best to make a an informed assessment of something based on limited information. And that's what you can and should say whenever you do something like that with something like paleo art is you do not know for certain the size or shape, you say this is at least an informed hypothetical decision. At least then you can at least admit that like, yeah, just me it's me guessing. As best as I could, it was me guessing. There's a lot of guessing still done in science. Ever think the otherwise. We need to go down to about 35, I think. If you're not at least guessing, then you're not making even an attempt at trying to understand something. What hypotheses are, they're guesses. They need to be treated as such, hypotheses. Theories aren't guesses, theories are at least in a base understanding of how something does or doesn't work, why it's theory. The reason why theory can change is because is not because it was wrong, but because or not always because it was wrong. That can also have an effect, but mainly I just think theories don't need amendments to when there is more going on at hand than just what can be observed. better understanding of something doesn't mean it was wrong in the first place. If it means that those fundamental theorems still had to be worked upon to better understand a concept. The theory is actually really good. You really don't get rid of the theory when you append a theory. You just make it more complicated, usually. You never really get rid of a theory. Not if you're using theories correctly. Believe it or not, I think part of that assumption also comes from when theory is used incorrectly, because as human beings, I don't know if anybody's out there, but we're quite fallible. Let me really bring that up because I think sometimes people will oftentimes also discuss or talk about how theories get disproven. They don't get disproven unless it is a case of the theory was already founded in such a way that really should not qualify it as a theory. All right. Let's get back to drawing the dinosaur. Now let's get back to drawing the dinosaur. Who is coming out really nicely, by the way. I am really happy with how this has turned out so far. It looks good. It looks really good. I like it. Wow, that's interesting how much. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think it would turn off that much. Just really goes to show how important that kind of line work is for my work. It just is. I'm getting better at it overall, but I definitely. It's just so important for my work, man. Even if I do that, no. That a couple times. Clean up the edge, but. What I also have to remember is that's what that line work is really there for, is to help define those edges like that. And what that shading does. Then I could do stuff like this. Whoa. That's wild how lighting effects gets affected by the slider. I find it a little curious how, whatever reason, it doesn't really. Whenever I switch to the vector layer, it uses whatever color I'm currently using, and it doesn't do anything like just take me back to the last color used by the vector. That would actually be quite nice. Do that, but it don't. I don't know why it doesn't. Yes. There we go. That's much better. Good progress. Good packers. Paggers. I will never not find Poggers funny. God damn, that Chuck E. Cheese. That Chuck E. Cheese clip lives rent-free in my brain all the time. Sometimes I have to remind myself it could be worse. I could be whoever was that Chuck E. Cheese puppeteer. Not even because... Hey, I've also looked into it more, and it's not because of just the accident that happened, but like just how immortalized they are for how freaking awkward that all came out. I ended up hearing after the fact that it wasn't just that they said poggers and then got really upset. Apparently they hadn't said anything for the entire stream. They didn't say a single word. Not one word. I want to know who they had playing whatever the game was, and then who they had puppeting Chucky, because God, who thought that was a good idea? And then not have him say a single thing, except for halfway through his own stream where he goes, "Bonkers!" God. And apparently he doesn't say anything else for the rest of that stream. It's fucking incredible. It's amazing. I can't believe somebody actually did that. It's bonkers. It really is. Yeah. I think. Oh. Really would that, wouldn't it? Well, try to think of how certain things go on certain places. The lines and the whites end up reflecting a little bit of light off of it. Kind of good. Add a couple hints here and there. And I definitely need the whites on top of the darks. That still didn't. I like my that. Don't worry about that hesitation. Nothing. Mean it that way, officer. I swear it was a misunderstanding. There we go. Littlest fleck of reflection. A little bit more depth. As much as I'm like really getting into rendering on these, I really do want to limit the rendering. I still want to limit it as much as possible to not overwork a piece. Because I think it's really easy to overwork a piece. I really do. I think it's still for the best to always try to keep in mind that you want to not put too much into a piece. Especially if there's other things you need to work on. That's why if I really do act on my next ideas, which I plan on it. I plan on acting on some of my next ideas. You'll probably see more of my art become more complicated with time, but I never will try to make it more complicated than what I'm capable of doing within a short amount of time. Asset work takes a lot of work, man. Work takes a lot of work, and what I've learned from my experience dabbling in asset work is I cannot spend time on asset work. I have to get the asset done, whatever it takes. You get the asset done and you move on to the next asset. Or else, in my experience, I never get the assets done. If anything, get the assets done, and then if you really do have time to go back to them to polish them up, then you can polish them, but get them working. That is my kind of philosophy on my work, is that I try to get it working first, and then go back and try to polish it when I have time to return to it, if I have time, but at least get it working. That's what's more important to me when it comes to something, especially if you're doing asset work. Did I accidentally erase these? Feels like I did. I didn't mean to erase that if I did, but feels like I accidentally erased it. And then for some texture, I want to try to add some more texture into that like back bit. I want to try to anyways. This is kind of a tough thing for me. I want to add a little bit more texture to that back, but this is not the way that I want to go about doing it. And this would not be the way to do it either, because even if I do this, let's say I do to the gritty square, I don't think this is going to be the texture work I want to do. What if I do something like that? Better served doing it more on the back. Or on the blue parts. That'll at least give me some texture here. Put there. More there. More there. It's funny. What if I... Here. If I do something like this, I'm just curious what's going to change. Say I do that. How does this change? Whoa. Huh. That is not at all what I thought was going to happen to that. Might be good to have that as an alternate layer then. Try one more thing. What happens if I just make it like bright red? Whoa! That's a neat effect. That's a neat effect. Once again, that gives me some good information to let me know where like things need to be colored in. Or where areas need to be worked on a little bit more to give them a little bit more texture. That's neat. I like that. Just to test one more thing. What if I use like a yellow? This. Well, let's go with goldenrod because I can't help myself. In fact, cannot help myself with goldenrod. Interesting. It is interesting how that all like bleeds in and how it changes different parts of it. That one actually looks okay. I do need to keep in that base blue though. Ugh. But I do think I will make a duplicate of it. Duplicate. Now what we do. Do that. This will give me information on what needs to be colored. This gives me information on what needs to be colored. It gives me a better idea of how the under part will look. And also it just looks metal as fuck. Because now I can just do this. It goes away. Now I can do stuff like this. Oh. Oh, whoops. Alright, that's good information to know. I didn't even know that was broken that way. Why this is good. That's why this is a good process. I realized that I had left that neglected. Yeah, that looks better. Perfect. And kind of what I've learned from processes like this is that I still can't do it perfectly. What matters is how the result looks, not getting this kind of thing perfect. Because that's too much. About the old, what's still gonna be silly is the VOD should have my voice. My voice should be here. The VOD's gonna show currently playing the song album, and then they're gonna be like, somebody's out there gonna be like, "There's no fucking music," and I'll be like, "Yeah, there isn't. I had to take out all the VOD music because the VOD kept on getting hit. It did. That was the last straw for me for the last Gartic Phone stream. The last Gartic Phone stream came out really good in a lot of ways." And I had to axe the whole thing on YouTube because it got dinged. And I was like, I'm not fucking with this anymore. I'm not. I really am not. I don't want to lose content and vice versa. Don't want to get black flag or don't want to get flagged anymore just because I had the audacity to include a song. Though on the flip side, I couldn't post the VOD for the Valheim stream repair for last week on Twitch because Twitch muted the part I made. So it's like, well, literally the only thing of the reason why I'm posting it got muted. So you guys get it on YouTube, but you don't get it on Twitch, I guess. So dumb. And it's Guts' theme. Who the fuck would? Why would you? Why? Ugh. I thought you didn't care about anime music. That's the anime music you hit me for? Come on, man. Come on. Ugh. I was I was going through it, guys. Can't believe they do that to me. So hopefully now I won't get dinged for stuff like that anymore. It's not gonna fuck with it. Not worth my sanity. I do need to play Valhalla really bad, because fuck, this slaps. I say as the VOD gets to see me fucking rock out to silence. Guys, this music's really good. If only you could hear it. Oh, yeah. Ha! Joke's on you, VOD. This is what you get for being VOD boys. Ha 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 ha. That's your fault, not mine. Whoops. I don't mind that. It's where I just start going hard black. It just can't be my default for everything, man. But it looks good. But it makes it look good. I have criminally neglected playing Valhalla though. I've kind of been saving it as something for at least me and Sean because I get the impression I think Sean's played it and he's told me I'd really like it. And it would be a good voice acting thing, and I wouldn't want to do that on my own. It seems to have a lot of characters. Though I do call dibs on the main character because she wears my fucking clothes. I would wear her outfit in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Including the corset. No, I'd wear that whole goddamn getup. This is for the VOD people. Do you know what song I'm on? I should try some. I don't know how I would do a live song sesh, like a sing sesh, but I'd try it once or twice. Hey Kappa, it is dawn, sir. It is time for dawn, sir. I made it. Good news. I have my phone back. And now, fundamentally, my entire setup has been changed because not having your phone for a week made me have to adapt. And some of those adaptions I have determined are for the best, actually, and I will keep doing them the way that I am. But welcome. Mainly, all you really need to know is that I'm going to fundamentally change how I handle the posting to Instagram. I'm going to keep it largely the same, with one slight change that should overall net me time saved to start the fucking stream, because I feel like sometimes I take a little bit longer to start the stream because I spent a portion of that time futzing around with Instagram, and I'm just gonna say, nope, not gonna fuck with it no more. Or at least not in the way that I did before, because believe it or not, my computer is better at posting to Instagram than my phone is. I only need my phone to post 2 things now instead of what I was doing before. And the rest is going to be handled by my computer, essentially. Not going to mess with and I'm not going to use it anymore to make those images. I think that it was novel, but the novelty has evolved, and I would rather higher quality images for those Instagram stories than to continue to wrestle with Instagram's busted system. And instead, I will now move on to actually making professional images on my fucking computer where I should have been doing them. Because for nothing else, I no longer have to worry about doing the thing that was pissing me off, which is if you hit the wrong spot on Instagram, right next to the undo button, you completely erase all of your work. Hey, Instagram, why do you have that feature? If I need to erase all my work, I will just cancel out and start over. I do not need a button that will irreparably erase all my work and also keep me from undoing that. It's not a fun feature, Instagram, and I do not appreciate it. And I'm not using your program anymore for drawing because of it. Fun fact, guys, when I use the drawing program to make drawings, it goes better. And now that I have an entire process in which I have been designing all of those, because for a long time, part of my reason not to do that was, well, Instagram has all the things baked in and it's convenient and I don't have to worry about things like, I don't know, they had all the things I needed for things like, for example, actually, this is a really good example. All the gradients. If you wonder where I get the gradients, I don't use Instagram's gradients anymore because for a long time I used Instagram's pre-made gradients to make the gradients I was using to draw those thumbnail images. But when I started making the thumbnails officially, because I learned, oh, hey, I have literally an entire process that I have been doing for 2 years that I could be utilizing for unique thumbnails, I went, these all look the same, and I like when I can theme something. So after over a period of time, I went, okay, I need to make my own gradients. So I started making my own gradients in Photoshop for any given game that I was playing. And if you guys have noticed that, that's where that started. And now, since I didn't have a phone for a week, so I couldn't draw on my phone for a week, I was just using my laptop to make the thumbnail image. So now, all I'm going to do is make the thumbnail image, like the little thumbnail image that I'll use for the story on my computer, and then all I have to do is add the text. You don't know how much less work that is actually for me, because I had to pay attention. There was a weird bug with Instagram for some reason, where if you windowed out of Instagram, go say, I don't know, check to make sure I saved the image, because I would have to save the image without the text, and now I can do that a little bit more safely. If I wanted to check that and went back into it, Instagram would do a weird thing where it would double the drawing layer and make all of your like lines darker, and sometimes I didn't want that to happen because it would make the image look gross. Like, I'm not using Instagram to draw the stories anymore. I'm just not. We're done. Instagram, I'm using you for what you do best, the story itself. You're not a drawing program. You honestly did way more than you probably should have with it, but I'm not doing it anymore. I'm better than that. I found better ways, and it literally took me not having a phone for a week. Guys, little update on that. Good news. I got my phone back. Better news? I didn't have to pay for the repair. Awkward news? The phone wasn't broken. The phone wasn't broken. The phone screen protector did its job and protected the phone screen. But to my uneducated assessment, I thought the phone screen was fucked. I was like, it doesn't even look fucked. What the hell? Turns out so I knew this was there. It's not even that I didn't know it was there. I knew it was there. You could put like a little thin sheet of paper of oh, not paper. It's not paper, of glass on the front of a screen, and that will break to absorb the impact to protect the phone screen so the phone screen doesn't break. Well, guys, it did its job. Little did I know, though, and in doing its job, it somehow prevented me from interfacing with the phone screen. And that's what was keeping the phone screen from working. Because after having them order it, having shipping orders mess up, and them get delayed on shipping orders, they finally got the phone screen in today, had unpeeled the little screen protector, and the screen started immediately working. They didn't charge me. They didn't charge me anything. And I went, thanks, guys. Really, genuinely. Like, I couldn't have been happier. I was like, oh, I gotta pay for nothing? Yeah, I'm fucking good. I'm good to go, guys. Thank you for fixing my phone, and I'm sorry that this was all a huge misunderstanding. Really silly. They do grow up fast, Kappa. I'm figuring out how to actually do this correctly. So the good news is I should be good. The crisis in my life I can handle. Still coming down to the wire a little bit, and I got to do a couple more things before I go to bed tonight. But the good news is I just have to do those things. I'm not late on anything. I didn't get screwed out of being able to do something important. It just got close, but everything I think is gonna, knock on wood, everything is gonna be okay. Like, actually, everything is okay. Really. I could say that like very contently and happily that it's gonna be okay. I don't know why the last really 4 weeks have been as hellish as they have been, and if they've been a hell for you, know that if you're still here, I hope that things start turning around for you too. God, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. But I know I'm not the only one in the world. And I know a lot of people in that time. I straight up remember raiding Hesper one day after having one of my own heart to stream hearts where I was like, I really appreciate you guys. And then we went to her and she was actually crying on her stream in appreciation for her community. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, is everyone okay? So, no, I appreciate you guys. And if you have had a hard time or are having a hard time, tough it out. Not because you gotta man up or anything. Like, yeah, I believe in you. Because God knows I'm not fucking dead yet. If I'm not dead yet, you're not allowed to die either. That's what really matters. It's not about toughening up and taking it on the chin, some kind of weird pseudo tough guy speech. No, it's not about being tough. It's just about doing your best. That's it. Do your best. Everybody out there, I hope everyone is doing their best. You ain't gotta be a tough guy to do your best. I mean that. You don't gotta be. Nobody has to be tougher than they're capable of. You don't have to be. Also, with the music changes, I actually am really like glad because I was like taking stuff. We can listen to things that I couldn't listen before now. We can listen to. I could put on Phaedra now again. I could put on um men. I could put on men. No, I could put on oh, what the hell are they called? Why can't I think of what they're called? Haircuts for men. I could put haircuts for men back on. We listen to that again. We listen to Daft Punk if I wanted to. We could actually listen to the things that would help me focus because so much of my like music selection was with the effort to try to save the VOD. And sometimes the best decision to make when it comes to these things is I don't want to worry about it. And we're not gonna. If this all goes as planned, the VOD will have me being able to talk, and it's not going to have any of the music, and that's okay. Because clearly, the music is just there for when it gets really quiet, but do I ever really shut my mouth? I mean, I did now. You can't see it. I did a cheesy little smile, but it, the answer is not really. So it's not like these streams are going to be all that quiet anyways, because I don't shut up. So for James's continued remorse, I will not shut my mouth. Unless it's a really important fight. Listen, if it's a really important fight, I'll shut my mouth. But it's got to be a pretty important fight, I'm just saying. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten better at that too. I feel like I was really, really bad about continuing to talk in Hunt and stuff when both of us needed our ears, or when he needed his ears, or when I needed my ears. I've definitely gotten better at that, I think. About that, even. And it has also helped a lot, honestly. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Shutteth thy mouth. It works. I can also do things like play more varied jazz. I can do a lot more now, honestly. Turning on that like VOD isolation is going to be really really nice. And I'm glad that that's an option. Like I knew it was an option for a while, but I had twofold hesitancy for why I didn't implement it sooner. One, I mean, I did have a part of me that was like, well, part of this is supposed to be showcasing the music anyways. But this at least allows me to preserve the VOD. And if I really want to get to that point, I will just make my own music for the VOD. That I only have to do once. That I only have to do once. I only have to make the music once. Then I could just put the background music. And then maybe at some point I get rid of that, though maybe not. Maybe even that I just put a disclaimer saying the music you see on screen is just for the live session. It's not like I will get in trouble for putting the name of a song that isn't playing in the background, will I? I don't think so. That doesn't make sense why I would. But I don't understand what makes people upset anymore, so needless to say, the VODs won't have music in them, and it will be for the better, because in reality, it allows the streams to be more special in that you will get to hear the music. You'll get to hear the music if you're live for the art streams, and eventually, maybe even get to. You don't think the lighters will get copyrighted? I don't know. Give it time. They'll find a way. AI will find a way. Um, Listen, I would not put it past the future to even utter the word Disney in a stream, and they'll get you. They'll send you a cease and desist for even saying their name. I could see it happening. I'm just saying. But that's because Disney is actually Disney ignored its own stories and became the bad guys. Yes, it is so. But I think this is for the best, because again, what's more important to me? Songs that are going to be a liability that I do think are good, that I want to share, or being able to make it clear that if you want to hear the music that's playing right now and you're watching the VOD right now, that you have to be able to see the live show. Uh-huh. Nintendo swatting the child named Mario and Luigi because they were twins born in the same house. That would be funny. Every Master Chief in the military gets a cease and desist for being a Master Chief. That's some fucking dystopian bullshit. That right there. Because you know that kind of stuff would be happening because of AI and not because even the systems themselves in place, like not because Microsoft would want to be doing that to actual Master Chiefs, but because they made AI control for the name Master Chief, and thus anyone with the rank of Master Chief would get dinged for that. A little bit finer. It's already almost 8 o'clock, and like I said, when we hit 8:30, I'll go ahead and switch it over to Valheim. And honestly, like I just wanted to make sure I was getting some more progress on this because this art the artwork is important for me to do, not just to be able to do artwork from for me, but because for once I'm like really able to sit down and start working on my portfolio again. And any amount of effort and work that I can put towards that is a good thing. It's a good thing. Definitely. And I wasn't sure if I'd get this done today, anyways. Um, Given the restraints I'd given myself, and maybe even I take this to heart and be like, okay, maybe I do a partial drawing stream on other days now. Maybe I do a drawing stream like, maybe I do like Wednesday's a big drawing stream, and then I do a small drawing stream on Saturdays or Tuesdays. Well, not Tuesdays. I like to put a gap. So, like, let's say we have Wednesday and we have Friday. The next best day would probably be Monday. Monday might be the next best day to just like squeeze in a drawing stream. That would probably be the next best day. So then it would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I do two drawing streams and a Gartic Phone stream, or I do a short Gartic Phone stream just to like get in one solo animation or something, and then we play something else for the rest of the day. That could be an option too, though I feel like that would be a little bit cheeky. And the reason why is because I wouldn't want to trick people into joining for a Gartic Phone stream, try to raise numbers just to switch off of it. That feels. It feels ungenuine. Feels disingenuous. That's the word I'm looking for. It feels disingenuous to do that. So I don't think I'll do that. We're gonna go down to 30 and we're gonna do another Passover on these. Partly them stick out a little bit more. That just kind of helps to darken it up so that way you get a little bit more contrast in there. Especially for the scutes, so that way they look a little bit different. Yeah, I like how that came out. I find it interesting that like kind of like whites. I don't know why when I use like whites that I don't get the same kind of really satisfying shading effect that I do whenever I use like blacks. Even when I'm just very lightly adding texture. Texture with whites does not really translate. I do not know why. And it's not to say that it can't. I do not know why my method never really feels like it translates well. It always feels like whenever I'm using shading or dark colors, even lightly, it's you can just slap those on a lot easier than you can like really lights. Lights you kind of work in and like it dulls everything. It desaturates things. Very weird. Which can be good. It can be good, but it's usually not what I'm looking for. Find it to be fascinating, like that. Like I don't know why that would do what it's done, but it just works. But it just works. Actually, go ahead and do this real fast. Now, what I find interesting is this implies that there's a different layer that this is getting painted to, and it no. Oh right, fuck. Like that's not right. So that is a good use of that. I might use that more on the back here for a second. Is using that kind of more textured eraser. That might be something I'll do. Yeah. That'll help give it a little bit more texture there. Here. And now I can play things like Carpenter Brute, as far as I know, because I can just mute it out. But until Carpenter Brute shows up on my stream, it's like, hey, wait a second. Shit, if I get to that point, I'll talk to that bridge when I get to it. Honestly, if I had a conversation with a Carpenter Brute, I would deeply apologize because I greatly respect their music and would say I was only playing it because I really liked your music and I had a system where I would no longer save on the VOD. So, sorry, I won't do it again, sir. Can I have your autograph? The idea of having somebody like that be like in contact with me specifically for something like that would be that would be what I would do. Is I would be so fucking starstruck that I wouldn't even be worried about them being upset about what it's about. I'd be like, "Oh my god. You're Carpenter Brute is asking for a cease and desist." Oh. Hideaki Anno sent a cease and desist to me? Oh, I got his attention. That's not a challenge. Hideaki Anno, you don't gotta. Hideaki Anno, you don't gotta. You don't gotta. Don't give me that look, Kappa. Don't you give me that look, Kappa. You can't say that it wouldn't be a not only an unsurprising but also appropriate way to respond to that kind of situation. You will never convince me otherwise. Part of me is like, do I clip that? Pull myself out? Get myself cease and desisted by Shinji Mikami? Don't whatever I did to get Shinji Mikami to send me a cease and desist, I really fucked up. I think if Shinji Mikami sent me a cease and desist, I messed up somehow. I will say that this whole music change is not going to affect Beat Saber, though. Beat Saber, I will just have to continue playing a little bit of Mute the Stream or VOD uh, poker. I still think I have a pretty good fair idea of what will and won't get hit, but it's always going to be a gamble with Beat Saber no matter what. Like, whatever gets muted gets muted. Those are just going to be ones that I'm just going to have to accept that there are going to be parts of it that are going to get muted whether I like it or not, because inherently Beat Saber needs music, and the music that a lot of Beat Saber has is all licensed music. There's nothing I can do about that. That's just kind of the reality of rhythm games. Is I could never stream, or I could stream Guitar Hero and it would not survive its VOD. It just wouldn't. The VOD would not survive. And I would have to accept that because it makes sense why it wouldn't survive from a licensing standpoint. I'm not dumb. Not like, oh no, one of my favorite it's a game comprised purely of popular rock music, and I can't save any of the VOD music for it. Darn. That said, I am kind of bummed about that. If we're going to talk about my formative rhythm game experience, it's going to be Guitar Hero. And I would only say at this point, Beat Saber exceeds Guitar Hero in that I have played more Beat Saber more recently than I have Guitar Hero for expertise. But I did get to expert on Guitar Hero, and technically I'm only just now dabbling in Expert Plus with Beat Saber. So I'm technically better at Guitar, or in my prime, I was better at Guitar Hero than I am at Beat Saber because I technically was playing Guitar Hero on its hardest setting, whereas Beat Saber has a setting that's harder than Guitar Hero's hardest setting, I think. And I've only just dabbled in it. But I kind of have learned to accept that sometimes there are Beat Saber maps that are not fun as Expert Plus. There are Beat Saber maps that arguably aren't fun at Expert, though that's not 100% true for me. So, but can I play Paranoia on Expert DDR? No, because I'm not that good at DDR, you jackape. Talking about how the only rhythm game I got good at was Beat Saber and Guitar Hero, so no. Welcome. Oh, I never actually... Did I actually say how I got my... Oh, no, yeah, I did. Never mind. I'll tell you about it later, because I already talked about it on stream, how I got my phone back. But long story short, the phone wasn't broken. Not allowed to ask what. The phone wasn't broken the entire time. It was all kind of a really bad dream. It was a really bad 2.5 week dream, which included one of that week's 2.5 weeks being not having my phone. Yes, it was you could describe it as kind of a bad dream. Because it was a bad dream. But it's fine. Gotcha. Well, thank you for joining, Kappa. Thank you for joining for me waking up from the really bad dream. Yeah, I appreciate it. Boy, Kappa, take it easy. Go sleep, bye-bye. That was like just straight... I just channeled my inner Edward. I don't know where that came from. Whoever the voice actress for Edward was, by the way, she does a fucking great job. I mean, that whole, voice cast is stellar, and I don't think Edward gets enough credit because she's really good. She's like really fucking good. I don't think Edward gets enough credit for how good her VA is. I think she's probably one of the best performances in that entire show, filled with incredibly good VA performances. Wow, I called them incredibly good. Incredibly great. What's wrong with me? Melissa Fan. What else has she done? Give me something else that she's done, because she hasn't done much since Edward. That's a fucking crime. I'm gonna call it a crime. And they need to arrest the fact that that's happened. They need to arrest whoever's responsible for the fact that she hasn't gotten more work. And if it's her, sorry, Melissa, you're under arrest. Doing something. I'm adding a little bit of texture. And I'm adding a little bit of character. She played Gaz in Invader Zim? I guess I could hear it. She played... Was Gaz the dog? Gaz was the dog, wasn't he? Yeah, Gaz was the dog. Yeah, I can hear her play that fucking dog. The dog, the robot, you know what I mean. I feel like I should, with a lot of skepticism in my voice, go back and at least watch some Invader Zim, because I liked Invader Zim when I was a kid. But also was terrified by Invader Zim. But I didn't like how I was terrified by it. The one episode that sits rent-free in my brain about Invader Zim is the episode where Zim steals everyone's organs. That episode lives rent-free in my brain. It was an upsetting episode. Oh, God, I actually do not know what her voice was like at all. Yeah. Still fits, though. I could see it. Well, actually, no, I couldn't. I would imagine that kind of character sounding like Raven. From Teen Titan. Teen Titan. And before, unless that's also her. Yeah, I don't remember her voice. I don't remember that character. I did not watch that much Zim when I was a kid. We had Nickelodeon, but most of the time I was also on Cartoon Network as well. But I did dabble. I did dabble a little bit, and I remembered catching a couple episodes. But gotcha. Well, that's good. She does a fantastic job as Edward. She plays a baby chocobo in Final Fantasy. That's amazing. Final Fantasy what? 14? Well, that's good. She's a very good actress. Very good job. The more I think about it, I think Edward is one of my favorite character performances. That's it. From Cowboy Bebop, because she does such a great job. Oh, to circle back around to Beat Saber, by the way, the reason why we're not doing Beat Saber for... I probably won't be doing Beat Saber for a couple weeks. Guys, Beat Saber updated again, so all my mods broke. That's not even 100% true. What kills me is that the only mod that really broke, even though Mod Assistant says that they're all broken, the only mod that broke was the one that mattered. Well, one of the two that matters. The avatars aren't working right now. Cameras still work. The cameras still work. I have all the cameras still set up in Beat Saber, but the custom avatars don't work. I'm like, fuck. And what's even gets me is that it's not even that they don't just work. The API still shows up. The application is still there. The mod is still in the game. The avatars just don't work. I can still interface. but I can't use them. But camera 2 still works. This is why you don't mod Beat Saber, even though I want to. Yes. And it's just something you have to realize is your mods are going to break for a week. That's why it's like, I'm going to be playing Beat Saber on my own time, on my off time, when I don't have Beat Saber available. And as soon as everything's working again, we can stream Beat Saber again. Which might actually be good for Beat Saber, because it'll mean every time I get to come back, I can have, like, the actual time to practice more and also have new content. So that way, because I was running into a little bit of an existential dilemma of being like, well, I don't want people to listen to me play the same song over and over and over again, even 2 streams in a row. So that will help me to at least continue to research new content for everyone to listen to, so that way when we come back to Beat Saber, when Beat Saber's working again, we have new stuff to listen to. So hey, it actually kind of works out. She was Cochita in God Hand. Is Cochita... No, that's not the... Lilith was the demon girl. Who the fuck is Cochita? I love that game. Who the fuck is Cochita? Send me a link to that. Sorry, I just saw that message. I can't think of who Cochita is. Demon girl with whip. Oh, it is? I thought her name was Lilith. Oh, that's just an enemy. Oh, you know, that's how cool this game is. Oh, okay, no, she's not just an enemy. She's a boss. She's a mini boss. Well, she's a side boss. She's a secondary boss. God Hand is so cool in that all of its bosses are bosses. It says that they're a sub boss, but they're still a boss. But they're still a personality. Yeah, okay, yeah, I recognize that character. That took me a second. Yeah, she does great in that game too. She's a complete, along with everybody in that game, she's a complete goober. God Hand is so good. It's so stupid. You can't take it seriously. If you take God Hand seriously, you're doing yourself a disservice. It is meant to be taken as dumb bullshit. Because there's a mechanic in God Hand where for male enemies, you can get them into a staggered stance where you can button mash to punch the shit out of them. For female characters, that staggered stance results in you doing a spanking animation. However, in my opinion, it's optional. That said, unfortunately, it's really strong, so it's hard not to, because mechanically it's really strong. I'm sorry, Sean. That game is dumb. Just have to accept that it's dumb. It's worth the sum of its parts, I promise you. That said, I do agree. When are they going to let you spank the boys? That would make it fair. I do think if they had an option to just use pummel the same, or even have a joke where you could have that where it's for both, so yes. But sorry, Sean. I love the boy Shinji Mikami. He has his horny energy too. He can't help it. He can't help it. Though, I do think that God Hand still continues his pedigree of horny idiots. So if you accept them as horny idiots, it's still a good time. And I would call it a pedigree. Is that the right term? That is the right term. He could. But what? Who are you to judge an artist for his art? To be fair, you can judge an artist for their art, but it is their art. Though I still do highly recommend it because it is the best beat 'em up I've ever played. Oh no. I swear to hell. I think we're fine. No dropped frames. Little bit of throttling. The jammer isn't here, guys. The jammer isn't here. That's what matters. Whew. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine, Sean. You know what's funny? They said they did work on the network yesterday from midnight till 6 a.m. I don't know if I believe them. I don't know if I believe them. But no, I do think it's at least worth trying because, from an action game standpoint, regardless of the content, I do think that anyone who's interested in action game design should try God Hand because there is a lot of good material to pull off of. There really is. Um, Again, the way that if if Dark Souls and Souls games is a lot about like challenging very precise. Also, thank you. Man, you killed the fuck out of whatever that bot did. I don't even know. I didn't even get to see the message before I looked up and saw that it was gone. Um, One of the things that God Hand really does that once you realize it seems cheesy, but I think the reason why it gets away with it is it's just so gung-ho about it, is being hyper aggressive with your offense and your defense might seem cheesy, but the way that the game is paced is it's pushing you to push yourself as hard as you can. And I like that because it isn't about super high precise timings of dodgings, though you can play it that way. But it also says if you just want to punch a brick wall as hard and fast as possible, you are rewarded with that. Just know you still have to be ready when the game mixes it up on you. But it does say that like that is a tactic that you can do, and it's not out of cheese. It's out of still being more aggressive. Essentially, you can out aggressive the game and you're rewarded for it, and it feels good. It feels good to out aggressive the game because it means you have to be more aggressive than the enemies, and the enemies are already incredibly aggressive. And that's awesome. I think that's fantastic action game design. Because arguably Dark Souls, you don't want to do that sometimes. You can't do that in Monster Hunter either. If you are too aggressive in those games, you'll get punished for it. And God Hand just says your enemies are hyper aggressive, and so are you. Pick one. And that's why I think as like far as like a kung fu game, as a game that makes you feel like a kung fu master, it succeeds where oftentimes fighting games fail for me. In that I like kung fu movies because they're a whirlwind of punches. And I mean, it's really cool to see high technical like fighting stuff, but I also want to see someone punch something 8,000 times for fun. So it is still absolutely worth playing. It, well, that's because Puyo Puyo, also AKA uh, Dr. Eggman's Mean Bean Machine, locally localized for U.S. audiences, is kung fu for the brain, and I'm bad at it. That's absolutely what the drawing art session. That will be the VOD title for the art section. Hey, Kirby. So what's funny is we're give you 15 more minutes. Once we hit 8:30, I'll go ahead and switch it over to Valheim. And then the rest of the evening we'll do Valheim. So huh. Didn't realize I start wait. Yeah, no, 6:15. I didn't start at 6. I started at 6. Yeah, that makes sense. Boy, that chicken came out good though. Holy crap! I forgot to ask him. I have to ask him how he thought, what he thought of the chicken. The chicken came out really good. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to do that chicken again. I made a teriyaki sauce on accident fairly recently, and now I'm putting that into anything that I can. Essentially, I was just sautéing some kielbasa and vegetables because it's my easy go-to. I just need to get like some food in me, so I do that. Um, and I was doing that, and in doing so, I accidentally like I was like, okay, I need to deglaze this. And what I usually do now, whenever I deglaze something, is I will cook it in the pan. So I'll usually cook my like protein in a pan. Then I'll get my vegetables ready. And instead of sauteing my vegetables these days, I actually roast them. So I will pair the vegetables in like a separate mixing bowl, and then I'll usually add a cooking spirit and an oil, and sometimes seasoning depending on how froggy I'm feeling. Usually just salt and pepper because salt and pepper are the universals, and I didn't even use them tonight, so that. But and soy sauce. I used soy sauce this time, so I did soy sauce, mirin, sake, and sesame oil. Fun fact, everyone, that's the basic ingredients for teriyaki sauce. And then I put it, and then I deglaze the kielbasa after I had sauteed the kielbasa, so it was nice and seared. Then I dumped all my vegetables on top of it with all of the liquids, put it in the oven, and it came out. And it had this like nice teriyaki glaze in the bottom, and I was like, "Oh, that came out really good. Okay, I gotta use that in more things." And I think this time I actually had too much liquid because when I went to go do the similar thing, what I actually did, because chicken takes forever, I seared my chicken in the pan, and then I used a rice wine to deglaze it, and then I threw it in the oven, threw a pan on top of it to make sure it doesn't dry out too much. But I was expecting more of the wine to cook out, and barely any of the wine cooked out. So when I put it in there for an hour, I then took it out, put the vegetables on top of it with the same kind of with the soy sauce, sesame oil, and the mirin, and then took it back out. And I was like, well, it's still wet, but it tasted really fucking good. So I can't really complain about that. It's not like it was bad. Came out actually really good. It was delicious. I have now internalized that turnips and rutabagas are like great. Guys, use more turnips. Turnip is like if you want broccoli to be a potato, or carrot to be, or a carrot if you want broccoli to be a carrot. It's so fucking good. It's not starchy though, and it has a really like green flavor to it like broccoli does, but it also has like a lot more flavor. Got like a spiciness to it. Turnips are fucking great. Everybody should eat more turnips. Eat more turnips. Listen, if you've always wondered why the turnip lady is like a big deal in Animal Crossing, it's because they're turnips. And now I understand. Turnips are fucking awesome. carbs are awesome. They also pair great with broccoli. I mean, they kind of pair great with everything. All right. That is some pretty good progress, though. What time is it? 8:21. Almost time. Almost time to switch. Almost time to switch. And really, this came out. I've got some good progress on this today. Really good progress on this today. This is kind of the part that sucks. Is I'm like, I don't use. I have to start doing something with them. Kind of putting it off, but I'm like, I don't wanna. But I gotta do it. Gotta do something with them. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them, but I'm gonna do something with them. I'd have to figure out what to do with that, but that shouldn't be bad. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to figure out how to stylize, because essentially I'm going for just really, 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 really deep shadows. I just gotta build up on it. Especially this. I really like how that stylized look is coming in too with a lot of that. I like the way the tapers are drawing out parts of this. Something to add a little bit of depth to it. Yeah, I like how that's coming out. It's coming out really good. It's coming out really, really good, actually. All right. I am excited to play more Valheim, though, if for nothing else. I'll finally be able to get my freaking rocks in order. What's funny is I have a ton of places to, like, being able to get into that mine has made a huge difference. Though I think I know exactly where I'm gonna go first, but still, like, ugh. Getting into those iron mines was a huge game changer for what I'm able to do now. Holy crap. I could do so much more now. Nice. Progress again, finally. I mean, I say that as though if I didn't make a shit ton of progress last time. I mean, I made a shit ton of progress last time. Just wait. There we go. Adding little flecks of white is something I actually learned from someone in college that I was in an illustration course with. It was where I started really actually understanding my lights a lot better and like how to build something out. So you get more stuff like this. Gave me a lot of good advice. She was a good ass artist though. God. Even at the time though, I was still just like, man, I just wish I was a good artist like someone like you. And I don't know. I was too hard on myself. I just had to practice more. And maybe even push myself a little bit. I can admit I don't think I really pushed myself as hard as I thought I could when I was doing art for a long time. I still think I could push myself probably a little bit harder even. Still have a lot of moments where I'm not so much like where I'm adding stuff and I'm not really like thinking about it. I'm just putting it on there and I'm like, I didn't really think about I just put it there. Or sometimes it's kind of like a, you really shouldn't do that. I really shouldn't do that. Art is hard. Art is hard. Okay? Art is tough. Art is smelly. Stinky. There? Yeah, it's 8:32. Okay, call that here for now. And I'm going to switch this. And hopefully nothing breaks. And hopefully this works the way I expected it. I expect it to. So give me one moment, everybody. We'll go ahead and switch over. I'm gonna when I come back, we'll be doing some Valheim. So give me one moment. We'll be right back. We'll be right back.